Bylaw. I'd just like to note at this time that we had the Honourable Minister Dr. Nick Smith here this morning on another matter with more recyclable bins around the area, etc., etc. I did have a chat with him in my office, and he's been following with interest our approach to the self-contained motorhomes, etc., and he was extremely complimentary. He did ask if we did have a freedom camping area, and we said we did, which was Reed's Farm, and he said that he was totally supportive of it, and we were moving his opinion in the right direction. Agenda item number 14, Mr. Ritter's down here to talk you through it, but it's basically to amend the bylaw to allow for the self-contained motorhomes in the prescribed area that we spoke about previously. Mr. Ritter.
Thank you. So this paper is around amendments to the current bylaw to introduce a infringement regime. So this is a follow-on. So the site has been designated for self-contained campervans on Ferry Road. The idea of this paper is to tie up the bylaw side of things to allow some infringement penalties to be levied if necessary. So any changes to the bylaw can be made by resolution, minor changes. This is classed as a minor change, and therefore only requires a resolution from council, although it must be publicly notified. I'll take this as read, but I'm just going to read out some salient points. To introduce the infringement regime requires the existence of a relevant bylaw outlining the offence. So within the bylaw it needs to outline the offence, so this change in the bylaw will outline that offence. And it also must include a schedule of areas that are designated and set aside for the purpose of camping. So again, and the term camping is also defined within the resolution on 14(2). There's a maximum. So from here, the amended bylaw goes off to the Department of Internal Affairs, and that's included in the regulation which allows that fining regime to be introduced. The instant fine is not exceeding $1,000. So that comes from the Department of Internal Affairs, not from ourselves. So I'm open to any. There's a revised drawing you've all been issued with a hatched area, which was a requirement which I omitted. So that's been tidied up. So that'll go forward with the amended bylaw as well. So that's defining the hatched area. So I'm open to any questions, but I think it's fairly straightforward.
Your Worship, this is very much unknown, the amount of people we're going to get for the Rugby World Cup, and it comes up at our Rugby World Cup meetings. Will Mr. Mickelson be issuing infringement notices, or let's put it positively, should that particular area here on the off-street parking, and are those spaces there, are those lines there to denote bigger areas, or is it the same sort of parking as we've got at the moment on there?
So we're currently going to remark all that area. We've got a campervan stencil, because obviously some of these parks have to be a bit bigger. So we've got a campervan stencil. You may or may not have noticed there's already signage up there to say you're welcome to stay. So we will be remarking that area, so actually how this looks now won't look like this in about 2 weeks' time.
Okay, so that obviously they all get squashed up, they can't open the door. What happens, I see Mr. Mickelson there, John, what happens if this gets filled up and you've still got floods of people coming in, which are good for our community, but what happens with the overspill, should it happen?
The overspill has to go either to Reed's Farm or to the campgrounds.
The campground,
That's the designated area. Anything beyond that, that's when, if this was to go forward and all flow forward and a regulation introduced, that's when the fining regime would be introduced for the World Cup. I mean, obviously that's the last thing we want to do.
That's the last step, isn't it?
It's not, but yes, that was the designated area, and that's the only area to be allowed for self-contained campervans.
It cannot be changed. Once this is in place, we cannot quickly change it to extend it. That's what I'm saying. I'd hate to think of people coming here all the way.
This is not being done for Rugby World Cup.
No, but I'm saying
being done permanently. Rugby World Cup may have we may do other things at the time to accommodate that. This is a permanent solution. If it was proved that it's extremely successful and the CBD was getting more invigorated, more vibrant, and strikes to the heart of their enterprise, we are council, we are governance. We can make the area bigger if that's what you want to do. At the moment, we're trying to not put too much pressure on the bowling club, the yacht club, and things like that. And it's also got the area in the boat harbour and in front of the yacht club by the DIA. So that's hang on, I've said the wrong thing. Deputy, yeah.
My question was just directed to John Red about the Rugby World Cup. That's all it was.
This is not being done for Rugby World Cup, although it will be done by Rugby World Cup. It's done now.
Could I just make the point that at your last meeting, that was when you actually designated the area. That was by resolution of council. This is simply to make some tweaks to your bylaw, which are around the definition of camping and around the means by which you can apply a fine, which requires this schedule to be put to the back. So that's the decision you're making today, not around the actual area itself.
You had that, yeah, that's been done last time. We need to focus. This is just to change the bylaw. Councillor Johnson, you had your hand up. Oh, Councillor Mincher.
John, correct me if you're wrong. Wasn't the harbour as part of that as an additional area that they control, the Department of Internal Affairs, and that could actually be opened up as well without us putting in?
We don't have control over that. That's the
what I'm
IA.
just part of that same debate. Just so that, I mean, like, was that they'll come into the party? But there's no control of
That's their call
on their land or anything.
That's their call. If they decide to do that,
Yeah.
then that's their call to do that. Yeah.
Is that like just so like for the imposing fines and stuff? So that's an area we possibly couldn't impose fines if they.
Private, it's classed as private land, so we wouldn't be able to do that, touch that as much as we wouldn't be able to touch your land.
Same question.
I know it's part of the same debate because if they've given us any word going forward that they're going to make the area friendly and sign it up and things so people would know, or is it just going to be out there for the?
Are they proceeding with that? Are they proceeding with that, Gareth? Do you know?
Yeah.
They are proceeding with that.
As I understand it.
Yeah. Okay.
Are they going to make a public announcement, maybe, Gareth? You know, just to clarify the issue.
I couldn't speak for them. I can find out definitely. As I understand it, they are progressing us.
Just on the first page under significance number 2, for the purpose of the bylaw, the term camping currently captures the use of any vehicle for sleeping. Does this capture also the drunk that can't find his way home, decides to sleep in his car, that cover travellers who take a rest from driving, as under the Transport Act that allows them to sleep in their vehicles? Will that be just the difference between council-controlled roads as such and highways?
There is a definition in the resolution which does outline that.
Current bylaw, to answer the question, your current bylaw does prohibit that. This change will modify that.
Okay. Councillor Williams.
Just a quick one. Have you been able to do any costs around enforcing the infringements in this area?
I'll answer that one. We'll be doing that through existing staff, and so don't foresee any increased operational cost required from that. The existing staff probably widening the net a little bit, having our other staff that are out in the field trained and able to issue infringements. And we're just playing with the idea currently at the moment in terms of using things like the meterised, the little pods which are around in town in the car parks, using them in the camping area to be able to help us monitor the 2-day stay. So we're looking at things like that, but won't require increased operational expenditure.
Giving you a ticket will be the same amount of cost to get me a ticket today. Parking too long in town. Councillor Johnson.
Just to clarify back with Councillor Mitchell's question or discussion, if they go down the road into the DIA land, that we have no controls. That's clarification.
If it's private land, it doesn't come within the.
Just Ferry Road, or is it just their car parks? You know, just.
Which is, that probably does because it's actually considered reserve, isn't it? Under the. is reserved, so
In terms of our bylaw, I would imagine that our bylaw would have no impact in that area.
I think we would have to check that one and get back to you.
Because it's just an opportunity, they just go 100 metres down the road and we've got no control. So.
Councillor Hickling?
If you just look at the plan, you'll see a green line.
That's the end of the road,
The south of the yacht club, and that's the boundary between the land in reserve and council. It cuts straight through there, through the bowl, not just this side the bowling club, through the women's club rooms and straight through. And that's the internal affairs.
There seems to be a little bit of confusion in it, but let's just recap, because this is not really about where you can get, this is about changing a bylaw, but it's been brought up by certain people. Department of Internal Affairs, as represented by Philip King, the Harbour Master, is allowing it down beside the yacht club where the Iron Men get in and out of the water, and around the boat harbour where the boats are parked. And the boat people are so happy about it, they put up $4,000 for a new dump station down there, because they're happy that they might get someone that charters their boats, etc. So, but we have no jurisdiction over it, but in partnership we have worked with them, and they are supportive, and they're wanting to do it. This is our bit here, that's the only bit we've actually got legal boundaries over.
It's consistency of message, so we don't end up with a problem down there.
You know, a backpacker from London is not going to know, you know what I mean.
I think the answer, Mr. Chairman, is that the land, I've just been thinking while you're talking, the land down at the boat harbour there is owned by DOC, so it's administered by Department of Internal Affairs. The act that, or the bill that's been put through Parliament to allow this infringement proceedings to be undertaken allows DOC to also undertake infringement notices and to enforce, and so therefore there would be the ability to issue those notices, but it would be to DOC's warranted officers, and they may choose to delegate that power to us in that situation as well.
Just John, obviously the fine regime for parking in the wrong place, I think. Obviously the concerns of the public are the litter and human waste. So those are covered by existing bylaws that we can.
Well, I'm not sure about the bylaw, but I mean, what we're doing there is putting things in place which will try and address some of that, i.e., more bins, bigger bins, human waste. Self-contained. The whole idea is it's self-contained campervans, so they'll have a toilet on board. So I guess those sort of things. The whole idea of the self-containment was that you wouldn't necessarily have those issues. I know.
Where I'm getting at, it's like the guy's parked down here, and there's all litter around his van. It's obviously his thing.
Hang on. I need to shut this down because this is not what this agenda item is about. This agenda item is solely focused on change the bylaw to facilitate the resolution that you gave to staff that you wanted self-contained motorhomes in that piece of land on that map down what's name. So not about litter around the rest of the lake or anything else. It's about you instructed them to go away, change the bylaw so you could do overnight camping and self-contained motorhomes in that area. Do I have a mover?
I move the resolution, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor. Secondly, Councillor Downard. All in favour?
Aye.
And we'll break for 15 minutes. Thank you very much.